Dear students, welcome back. I am your assistant teacher, Maya Gurani. So students, as you know, we are discussing the second chapter of geography. The name of the chapter is Land, Soil, Water, Natural Vegetation and Wildlife Resources. As we have already discussed the three things, land, water and soil. And also we have discussed how we can conserve them as they are important for the survival of the human being. So in this today's lecture, we will discuss the natural vegetation and the wildlife. So first we will discuss what is the natural vegetation. The natural vegetation is nothing but the plants and trees that grow naturally on the earth. It is known as the natural vegetation. And what is wildlife? The wildlife, it is that stand for the undomesticated animal, birds and the insects and aquatic animals. The natural vegetation and or we can say the flora, it is differ from one region to another. And also it is dependent on the climatic zone. So students, as you have seen that the changes in the natural vegetation, it is because the overuse of the land by the human being. So where the natural vegetation and the wildlife are found, it is known as the biosphere, and where they interact with each other, that is the lithosphere, hydrosphere and the atmosphere. So the lithosphere, where we are living, the land where there is a valley, mountain and the continents are there. The hydrosphere, where there is everywhere the water. And the atmosphere, where there are the gases. And without these three things, the atmosphere, the lithosphere and the hydrosphere, the life cannot sustain. So we need three things for the survival of the human life. So it is found in the land as well as on the ocean. In the biosphere, the living things, it includes the plants and animals. They are interdependent for their survival. This is called the ecosystem. Ecosystem is nothing but a tiny part of the biosphere where the living beings, they interact with non-living things like rock, sunlight and the climate. For example, the desert ecosystem or the mountain ecosystem. What is ecosystem? The living being in the biosphere, when they interrelated or interdependent on each other, this life supporting system is known as the ecosystem. So students, the plants that provide us the timber, gives shelter to the animals, storage of underground water, and it produces the oxygen for the survival of human being and also the living being. It protects the soil as it protects the soil from their roots, so that it reduces the effect of volcano, earthquake and also tsunami. The fruits, nuts, latex, terpene oil, gum, medicinal plants and the paper that is used for the studies. And the wildlife, where it includes the animals, plants, insects and aquatic life. The plants that provide us the milk, meat, hides and the wool. The insects that, for example, the bees that helps us, that gives us the honey and also help in pollination of the flower. And these insects, they help in decompose as a decomposer in our ecosystem. And also the birds that take their food from the insects and act as a decomposer, and like vultures, which is also known as the scavenger, who helps in cleaning the environment the dead bodies, by eating the dead bodies, they cleanse our environment. Let's discuss the distribution of the natural vegetation. The natural vegetation, it varies on earth both longitudinally and the latitudinally. So the growth of the plant is dependent on the climatic conditions like temperature or the moisture. These both are the climatic conditions that influences the growth of the trees, the length of the roots, the height of a plant, the shape of the leaves and the density of a forest. So, as a result, it has been also known as the mirror of the nature. This natural vegetation is also known as the mirror of the nature. So, the reason where there is a high rainfall, so there we will find the tall trees. But as the rainfall decreases, the height of the plant also decreases, and these places where there is a less rainfall, so there we will find a small trees. But where there is a scanty of rainfall, or we can say the no rainfall, it leads to a desert vegetation. And the region which receives the snow, there we will find a conical trees. The major vegetation regions are forest, grasslands, serfs and tundra. So students, let's discuss the conservation of natural vegetation and the wildlife resources. The forests are our wealth, and the plants that give shelter to the animals together maintain the ecosystem, and both are equally important for us. The natural or the human interference that has caused the loss of the natural habitat of the plant or the animal. Many of the species have become the endangered or on the verge of extinction. So, the natural and the human interference like the deforestation, the soil erosion, the construction activities and the volcano, the landslide, these are the factors which accelerate the process of the decline of the animals, or we can say the extinction of the animal. So one of the major concern is the poaching, or we can say the illegally hunting the animal. Some of the people, they hunt the animal for their vested interest. As they hunt the animal for their skin, for their teeth, for the parts of their body, and they earn the money with that. And some of the animals like the tigers, lion, elephants, the crocodiles, rhinoceros and others. And there is a need to conserve these animals so that we can stop extinction of these animals. So some of the methods are awareness programs. There are many awareness programs that are running in India or many other countries. Like one such example is One Mahotsav. One Mahotsav that make the people aware at regional level and community level. In many of the schools also, they organize such program that make the people aware, like they plant the animal or bird watching. The second was is institutional measures. By this, the government has took many of the steps to conserve the natural vegetation and the wildlife.
Cause of destruction of natural vegetation and wildlife. Forests are the human habitats for the plants and animals. Plants give shelter to the animals and together they maintain the ecosystem. There is a balance in the environment if the relative number of species is not disturbed. Plants are great natural resources. Human interference and changes of climate are causing the destruction of natural vegetation and wildlife living in the forest. Many species have become endangered, and some are on the verge of extinction. Deforestation, constructive activities, soil erosion, forest fires, tsunami, and landslides are some of the human made and natural factors which together accelerate the process of extinction of this natural wealth. The animals are being posed for collection and illegal trade of hides, skin, nails, teeth, horns, and feathers. Increasing incidents of poaching have led to a sharp decline in the number of these particular species. It is a matter of great concern for the whole humankind for its survival. Increasing awareness and watch both are needed to stop this practice and conserve the natural vegetation and wildlife. The National Environment Awareness Campaign is organized every year under the different themes to create awareness to save our forests and wildlife as well as to keep our environment clean. Environmental awareness is the first step in conservation. National parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and biosphere reserves are made to protect our natural vegetation and wildlife. Hunting is strictly prohibited in all types of areas. Cultivation, grazing, and collection of forest products are permitted in the sanctuary but not in a national park. National parks and wildlife sanctuaries are multi-purposes protected areas to preserve the genetic diversity in representative ecosystems for present and future generations.